Paleka, and my title is The Whitmans versus the Cayuse. I will be talking about the Whitmans massacre and what events or factors led up to the murder. Not only that, but I will be talking about the two views from both the settlers' eyes and the native tribe's eyes. As a warning, I am personally not Native Indian or any Native American, nor do I have any ties. I am Native Hawaiian and I'm from Hawaii, and my ancestors come from Hawaii, Samoa, and Tahiti. Even though I have no ties, I wish to speak about this historic event because it brought on a great deal between the white settlers and the Native American Cayuse tribe of the Pacific Northwest, and I feel that it should be talked about more or given more recognition. To be precise, I will be talking about the Whitmans and the mission they wanted to achieve coming to Walla Walla Valley. Then I will go into detail about the actions that led to the murder and what took place after the massacre. After the actions, I will go over a problem and solution that happened between the viewpoints of the settlers and the Native Indians. Last but not least, I would like to give an understanding and comparison of both viewpoints between the settlers and the Native Cayuse that took place during and after this event. I do apologize if I have said any of the Native Indian tongue in any wrong possible way. I do apologize. So starting off with the Whitmans mission, the Whitmans were appointed by the American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Missions to bring Christianity to the Indians. They arrived in Walla Walla Valley in the spring of 1836. The Whitmans were invited to build a mission among the native Cayuse at a site on the Walla Walla River called Wailepu. The place of the ryegrass is what it means in English. In September, they finally arrived and the Indians welcomed them, allowing the Whitmans permission to build and settle on Indian land. Now, the Whitmans made it their duty to convert the native Cayuse into Christianity and to practically transform their lives from what it was. At first, the Cayuse were interested and willing to be a part of this mission. By the second year, the Cayuse was getting a better understanding of what the Whitmans were expecting of them. When 1843 rolled around, 1,000 European settlers immigrated down the Oregon Trail, and with this migration, they brought a disease that spread it into an outbreak. It was called the measles outbreak. As we pull into actions, this measles disease outbreak was huge. Marcus Whitman was not only a missionary, but also a doctor. He took in these European settlers and provided medical care, not only to them, but to the native Cayuse as well, because they were also becoming victims to the outbreak. 250 native Cayuse died, and most of them were children. Because of this, the natives believed that the Whitmans had bad medicine, and that they're actually killing and poisoning their people. They even referred to Marcus Whitman as the evil doctor. Marcus Whitman said he was a doctor, meaning a healer, in the Native Americans' eyes, and because this healer wasn't actually healing, the native Cayuse believed he was using his medicine for bad purposes. Now, this led to the massacre, happened on November 29th of 1847. Two native Cayuse men, chiefs of the tribe, Tilokait and Tomahas, came into the home of the Whitmans demanding for medicine when gunshots were being heard moments after. Soon, some of the tribe's men had also joined into the massacre. 13 people were killed, and 12 men, one of them being Marcus Whitman, and a woman being Narcissa Whitman. 47 settlers were held captive for a month until ransomed by the Hudson's Bay Company. So what happened in the aftermath? In 1850, 5 native Cayuse men were hanged. In those 5, 2 of them being the 2 chiefs, Tilokait and Tomahas. Due to the Whitmans' murder, the settlers and the white people wanted justice. The military began to harass the native Cayuse and the entire tribe until they came out with the 5 Native Americans that took part in the murders. These men went to trial and ended up being convicted. Now, this wasn't exactly the end of the story. Problems arose again. Settlers wouldn't stop coming in on Indian land, so the native Cayuse and several tribes of the Columbia Plateau had gotten together and signed a treaty with the U.S. government. that carved up Indian land to make room for American immigrants. The Umatilla, Walla Walla, and Cayuse Indians were able to preserve a small portion of their land named as the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Now, the U.S. government had roughly 92% of the land. With more and more settlers coming in, more and more native Indians left. In fact, the native Cayuse were the first to leave Walla Walla Valley because they believed that they were just in the way. Last but not least, let's look at the points of view of the settlers and the native Cayuse from this historic event. To the Whitmans' eyes, they believed that their role was important and they wanted to share and force their religion, being Christianity, on the native Cayuse, who had already had their own religion that they go by. In the settlers' eyes, because of the massacre that happened, they believed that the native Indians proved every racist stereotype that the settlers had thought of them. They painted a picture that these native Indians were savages. They saw that they needed revenge and justice for what happened to the Whitmans. And with that, they went through with it. They went through with their revenge or their justice. And by going through with that, it was successful by hanging those 5 native Cayuse men. Not only that, but they got what they really wanted, which was more land from the native Indians. Now, in the eyes of the native Cayuse, they lost 250 people of their people to a disease that was brought over from white and European settlers. They believed a healer, being Marcus Whitman, that what he's giving to the tribes will help them save their people because they had built a trust, because the Cayuse was learning to become Christians while the Whitmans were having this back and forth relationship. So there was a built trust there. That trust was immediately broken because the tribe was thinking they're going to save our people, but instead their people continued to die. The numbers kept going up. So that trust was immediately broken. They wanted to do what was right because they were suffering. After many times of warning the Whitmans that please be careful, this isn't right, the Whitmans still didn't listen. They ended up getting blamed for everything, and the 5 men of the tribe, again, were hanged, which is the reason why I said, you hit, we'll hit harder. The you being the native Cayuse, and the we'll being the settlers or white people. Because, yes, the native had killed the Whitmans, which was their hit, but the white settlers and the military came back swinging even harder because they ended up hanging 2 chiefs and 3 other Cayuse men and taking 92% of the land that was given to the U.S. government, which was giving to the settlers. So they still ended up leaving Walla Walla Valley, which was their homeland, because the settlers just kept coming in and taking what they wanted. Some testimonials I want to share from the point of views was from the settlers. They said, look what these savage Indians did. This took place after the massacre and after the news had went out about the massacre. A testimony or quote that I wanted to share from the native Cayuse eyes was, did not your God give up his life to save your people? This is what we're doing to save our people. We're tired of running. We're tired of being scattered throughout the country. This was said by the men who were in jail waiting to be hanged, but it was mentioned by Marjorie Waheneka from the Tamasklit Cultural Institute. Now, in conclusion, the Whitman Massacre played a huge role in shaping the history of the American West and the relationships between settlers and the Native American communities. Now that we can see and get an understanding of the two viewpoints from the traumatic historic event, You can see that the settlers had their eyes on something bigger when they saw their chance, that being the land and resources for them to settle, while the native Cayuse had more merit because as their population got smaller, the suffering didn't just come to one tribe, but affected a few. They ended up giving up their entire homeland, their resources, and just overall their well-being, but it didn't stop them from traveling somewhere different and trying to make something of themselves yet again. Thank you.